It's 220 kilometres to Josa.
You have a full tank of diesel.
It's not dark.
We're wearing sunglasses.
Well, some of us are.
Hit it.
Okay, we did actually shoot that intro bit before our adventures at Josa with Lorna, but it made a good opening, so I've used it anyway. Once we'd left Josa, we had to crack on a bit. We'd booked Jamie on a flight out of Basel in the northwestern corner of Switzerland. Waiting for the final video shot in Lecture, and then helping Lorna to get over our adventures, had all taken up lots of time. And that's all an excuse for there not being much coverage of our onward journey. Filming yourself is fun, but it's really time-consuming. We did run our GoPros, though, as we drove, so here's a flavour of the changing landscape, whilst I tell you the story in voiceover. Oh, well, as much of the landscape as you see from the Trans-Européenne. Nice to think they built a whole motorway just for Trans-Europeans. Anyway, you'll be on the edge of your seat wanting to know, did we get a new key for Primrose? Did we rescue her from the forest? Well, by the time we'd settled our nerves and formed a strategy, because I was the only one with enough French to actually phone the Fiat garage and ask for help, it was really too late to move on that day. So we decided to spend another night there, and then perhaps we could help dealing with the garage in the morning. Having formed that plan, Lorna spent the evening digging out all the documents for Primrose. We thought she might need them to get the new key. In France, you're supposed to keep your actual registration document in the car at all times. But this doesn't help you prove that the car is yours if the registration document is actually locked in the car because you've lost the key. Because then you can't get a new key because you haven't got the registration document to prove it's yours because it's in the car and you haven't got the key. Well, anyway, going through the garage bills and a receipt from buying the car and a small mountain of other mysterious French car documents, she found a spare key that neither she nor Paul, her husband, knew about. So, naturally, we immediately returned to the forest to try it, because it was a dumb key, no remote control buttons. For all we knew, the car had an immobiliser and wouldn't start without a proper smart key. Well, it did open, it did start, and she drove home. Crisis over. So the following morning, we headed north, and I had hoped to have the time to go through Switzerland so that we could see the Alps. But that's a long way around, and so the safe option seemed to be to head directly towards Basel on the fast and mostly empty autoroutes péage through France. We stopped for a quiet night outside the chateau in Monton-les-Bains. The next day passed very similarly in something of a blur of autoroute péage. until we arrived within spitting distance of Basel and spent a night in the very pleasant village of Hertzbach, where they've provided a lovely air de camping car. Jamie's flight wasn't until 5 the next day, and it was only about a 40-minute drive to get there, so we had a morning to ourselves. We had a look at Visorando and decided on a walk headlined Promenade des Cigognes, or as we might say, a stork walk. It was an intriguing notion. Hindlingen bills itself as the Stork Village, and sure enough there were quite a few storks' nests on chimneys and rooftops and even 1 or 2 telegraph poles. Where we parked, by an old railway line converted to a cycle track, there was an enclosure housing a disabled stork and its mate, and a number of poles with more nests, including one presumably intended to give the storks the idea of what they're there for. Hindlingen provided a very pleasant walk, but then it was time to take Jamie to the airport. We did this without further adventure, and I returned, alone, to Hertzbach for another night.